of pain. My journey into this menstrual cycle work, just for the recording, is one of, unfortunately, it was pain and discomfort and definitely intolerance. I used to have incredible cramping, like to the extent that I used to be having to get taxis home from work. I even had, days off school when I was 15. Migraines that would cripple me. And that went on, especially into my 30s. It got worse with stress, which become a theme as well tonight. And it wasn't until about 6 years ago, and I'm 46 now. It was only 6 years ago that I found out about the menstrual cycle. And so I'm incredibly passionate about sharing this work for all aspects of life, whether you love going for a walk, whether you're in a sports team. I used to play camogie myself with Grana Ballingarry a long time ago. And it affects all aspects of our life. It's not just isolated to our menstrual cycle, which you'll see in a minute. But I want to dive straight into this. Now I don't have any pain. I go through my whole cycle, and I love my cycle because it's all month long. I don't have cramping. I only get migraines if I'm going too fast and not looking after myself. And I love my cycle and my period. And it can become a friend. And given that we have around 450 of them in our lifetime, we might as well befriend her rather than make her a foe, right? So I am going to use slides tonight I guess visuals are really useful. I am going to ask some questions. You can pop the answers in the chat, and definitely as well. So yeah, add them into the chat, or you can be racking them up, or hopefully I'll answer some as we go along as well. So I'm going to start by, I'll just share my screen. So as I said, we have 450 cycles and periods in our life. It's amazing, isn't it? I never really thought about this until I first heard it, and I was like, oh my God. And I worked out that I had about 320 of them before I knew this cycle. So it's never too late. And if you're young, it's amazing that you're learning this now. I wish I had, but it doesn't matter because I know now, and I have a much healthier cycle and life because of it. And our cycle isn't just our bleed time. Our healthy cycle is between approximately 25 to 35 days. And that we need to ovulate every month. I'll go into that. It can be relatively pain-free and mentally and emotionally smooth, allowing for life events, because when life shakes us about, obviously that'll just turn up in our cycle. I will be talking about blood. So if you like talking about blood, just think of all those films that have won Oscars and all the rest of them for those bloody films, like, I don't know, Braveheart, and I don't know, I could offer a list of them, but for some reason when it comes to talking about women's blood, there's dirt, and it feels shame around it, and that it's dirty, and it's just not the case, because we have blood flowing through all of us. So I do talk about blood and pooping a bit as well. So everything is welcome here. I will say this a few times, our menstrual health is just a reflection of our health. And I know that, like, I used to be going, oh, my bloody period is coming again, oh, and blaming the period, but it's not, it's just a reflection. It's messages telling us what's going on in our health. And the last point I want to say to set this up is that it is a gift. Because we get to detox and release every month, and all the experiences that we've had, like what we've experienced in the last month, whether it's loads of great experiences, it might be promotions, it might be winning something, it might be meeting a new friendship or anything like that. And we get to, or then on the opposite side, it could be disappointments, maybe arguments, everything. But we get the opportunity every month to let go of that when we bleed, because it's not just a shedding of the uterine lining. It's not just that. They also reckon, it's believed, no science behind this, but it's why we live longer. There's a thought, isn't there? It's why we live longer than men. Anyway, so we're going to do this together, right? I want to talk about the seasons, and we're going to start with winter. Now, given that we're about to get a cold snap, and this photo might, I think it's tomorrow, we're supposed to get a bit of a cold snap again. I want to ask you, and you can pop the answers into the chat. I'll just open up my chat box here, so that I can see everything. What do you think about when you think about winter? Like, how does it feel around winter for you? What do you think of? Like, what are the qualities or the traits of winter? Now, some of them are there on the screen in front of us. Like, it's dark, isn't it? Like, winter's dark. And it's cold. And if it's warm fires, yeah. Cold, spending time indoors, yes. Minding ourselves, yes, ideally. Cozy. Brilliant. Cold, rain, dark fire, early home, yeah. Keeping warm, hibernating, yes. Yeah. And how do you feel? Downtime, yes. Miserable. Thanks, Miriam. It can be like that as well, can't it? How else does it feel? Like emotionally or mentally? It can feel low, yeah. It can. And sometimes we can feel quite isolated, actually. And it makes us feel, yeah, unmotivated. Yeah. And withdrawn as well. So we've covered everyone. You've got it all. It can feel quite heavy, I think. I don't know if that one was called for. So physically, that's how we can feel. Mentally, we can feel tired, withdrawn, sluggish. But also, like, I don't know about you, but I love the fire. I love like I just had to change rooms there at the last minute, and I have the fire on in this room, and it's like I do like closing the door and getting rid of everyone and just telling the world to go away for a little while. So it can be very grounding as well. And some people can be quite contented. You can feel contented, but you can also feel a bit sad or anxious, like you've said already. And I'm going to use the word spiritual and make of it, turn it into a word that you like. So for me, it's like, how kind am I to myself, or how kind am I to others? So spiritual can be whatever it means to you. Okay, I can't define that for you. But spiritually, we can feel more isolated, or we can have low tolerance. We can also feel peace and calm. And every winter or every day can be different, right? I think you'd probably agree. Like one day you're delighted to be by fire, and then after a week, you're like, oh my God, get me out of the house. We can feel differently. Yeah, it is a downtime. So this is spring. So what do we think when we have spring? So I've helped us there by having the lovely spring lambs, which of course are already being born, or just about to be. And literally, isn't he gorgeous? Springing, coming out. And what do you think of spring? So when you think of spring, what are the qualities, again, the traits? Yes, energized, fresh, full of life. Yeah, it's lighter and brighter. Brilliant. Thank you for putting all these in. New beginnings, for sure. Training, yeah, you're back into the field again. Longer evenings, yeah, and you feel more like putting on the gear, right? Okay, so it's lighter, fresh, clear, and sometimes we can be slow to emerge. Sometimes we're like waiting to get out of the traps. Growing, fresh start, garden brighter, yeah. And it's a real time for new ideas and that rebirth, which you said earlier, Pauline, about rebirth. And there's a new motivation, and we're feeling renewed. Like we feel this kind of, we're shedding the winter, we're like letting it go. There's probably things that like we're like quite glad to let behind, and then to start looking forward again and go, okay, what seeds do I want to sow? And so emotionally, like you said, you're more optimistic, you're more trusting, maybe excited, eager to get back out again, more open. But it can also be, it's energetic, there's more energy coming in. There's also a bit of tenderness there, isn't there? Because it's like, oh, I have to start going out meeting people again. I might have been feeling a little bit more insular during winter. And so there's a newness about it. I think everyone can tune into and feel, because we're about to come into spring, right? And you probably notice as well as we go through this, see if you've got any favorites, or if there's any one of them that's like going, oh, I really like this season. So the next one is summer. Now we know what we're doing, right? So you can start popping it in again. What are the traits of summer? Like, what happens during summer? So I put a photo there of people out. Sunshine, green grass, outdoors, holidays, yes, happy sun, long days, yeah, longer days. Oh yeah, I can't wait for the sunshine, right? It can be busy. Yeah, it can be busy. Energetics, sunset. Yeah, we're out enjoying life, aren't we? We're coming out more. Let's see. What else that we haven't said? I think we've said a lot of them. Holidays, walks, outdoor living, brighter evenings. Yeah, so the sun is out most at any other time of the year. So there's more heat. So there's more heat around us and within us. It's like having 2 days in one, yeah. And we're quite social, right? Like we're way more social. We're having barbecues, we're going around to mates' place, we're meeting people, we're going to gigs, we're doing all these things. We also can have a tendency to overheat, and some of us will overheat more than others, and some of us like some are more than others. Some people can find it like a bit too much or a bit too intense, or might go too fast and say yes to too many things. But let's see. Mentally, we're more open, social, playful. We're strong as well. That's one thing, like, because the physical activities of outdoor living and stuff and the holidays is, yeah, because we're physically feeling strong and mentally, like they're tied in, right? Emotionally, we're happy, we're excited, we're spontaneous, there's joy there. And yeah, this is a really important one, actually. Like, during the summer, we're at our most extroverted self, or we can be. Like, you know, if you don't know what introverted versus extroverted is, extroverted gets their energy from other people, and so love being around people, and they get more energy from people. An introvert is like, yeah, I like going out for a little while, but then I'm like, oh my God, take me back to my own room and boost myself up, and I need a bit of time of my own. And we're both, like, we're not one or the other. There's not, you know, it's too black and white to think that we're one or the other, but we've a bit of both in us. And I know I definitely, I tend to be more introverted, but then there's times when I'm like, oh yeah, I just can't wait to get out there. So summer is that time. And then we come to autumn. I love this image. Oh, I should have made that a little bit bigger. So we've got autumn here. So think about autumn. So we're coming out of summer, we're coming into autumn. How are we feeling, or what are the traits? Letting go. Yeah, it's the in between. Yeah, it's a brilliant one. Yeah. Preparation for winter. Yeah. We're preparing to hibernate again, aren't we? Hanging on. Yeah, because we don't want to let go. We're like, oh no, there's more I want to do. And I love these sunny evenings, you know, those Indian summer evenings. We're relaxed, winding down, wrapping up, lighting the fires, harvesting. These are brilliant. Thank you. The leaves are falling. It's a beautiful time of the year as well. This is my favorite. I think everyone has a favorite. Sometimes it can be the month the season that you're born in as well. So it's very changeable. Yeah. We're slowing down. It's windy. We've got all the beautiful colors. We're reflecting on the harvest that we've sown in spring. So the seeds that we sowed in spring, we're harvesting those, and all the good intentions and everything that we wanted to bring into our life. There's a real sense of clarity as well. But we also might starting to feel that energy of wanting to withdraw from the world, and we might be a bit in and out, like we're like, no, we want to stay in, we want summer to last a bit longer. But the nature of it is kind of drawing us to come in. It's also a great time to be grateful, but I'll come to that and come back to that. It's because it's that, you said it was in between, like, because it can also be confusing, and it's a real transition time, because you're like, you might want more, or you might feeling there's a lot of things coming up. The year has nearly been. There's so many changes coming in, and it also can feel, you can feel incredibly content. I love autumn, and the sense of wanting more. So, and then obviously in nature we go around again. We start in winter, spring, summer, and autumn. So thank you everyone for helping to do that, because it's much easier and it's much more, I don't know, enjoyable when we do it together. So this is our menstrual cycle. Let me get up my screen. So winter is menstruation. So this concept, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, comes from, it's a book called The Wild Power, devised by two women in, well, one's from Australia, but they're in the UK, called the Red School. And it's a beautiful way of describing what we go through every month. Every girl and woman that's menstruating is going through this. And actually, if you're not menstruating, this is also similar to the moon cycle. So the winter is the time of menstruation. So, you know, when you're like, I want to go inwards, I want to rest. Everything that we said earlier, you know, all those traits of I need to slow down. I want to slow down. I want to hibernate. I want to turn the lights down low. I want to put the fire on, and I want to tell the whole world, can you ever go away from it? I just need rest for a few days, right? And then spring is pre-ovulation. If some of you know some of the menstrual cycle, then this half, the first half here, is the folliculars phase. I don't use too many medical terms because, to be honest, I don't know. I find that speaking about it in everyday terms is much easier. I can tune into it more. Summer is ovulation. That's why, like, ovulation is when your energy is at the highest, you're feeling the strongest. I'll go into that more. And then autumn is premenstruum time. You know, very changeable. Remember we said it was very changeable. It can kind of set you like, what's going on, not to, you know, different aspects of that. So this is it. Please don't take it as approximate days. We live in a society where, you know, we go to work for 9 a.m. or 8:30 or whatever your schedule is, or we go to school or uni for, you know, at 9 a.m. and we finish at 5. But, you know, we're human beings. We're not linear or fixed like this at all. We actually have a cycle. So these days are approximate. One thing that is fixed is day 1 is the first day of your period. So it's the first day of full blood flow. It's not when you're spotting or pre-spotting. It's the day that you've proper flow, okay? But winter itself can start anywhere from like 27 days and last up to 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. Women will have different patterns, and we have got patterns. Some women, I study and I work with Ayurveda, and some women have 3 days. Like I have a 3-day bleed, right? Day 2, I'm still bleeding. Day 3, I'm out and I'm gone again. Some women have really heavy periods and they could last 5 to 7 days, and they might have to go through multiple pads, and they're changing it constantly, and it is draining their energy. It's incredible. And then other women have a pattern of it's really irregular. So some, like, they might get it and then it might go. They might have it for 3 days, they might have it for 5 days. We all have a pattern. Regardless, there's a bigger rhythm, and the menstrual cycle has a bigger rhythm. And so from approximately day 27, every woman will be a bit different, and she'll change each month. You start to feel that draw to come in and to say goodbye to the world, right? And so that's from approximately day 27 to 5. Then we're coming back out around day 6, 7, you know, within a few days difference. Ovulation is generally, or summer is generally day 12 to 19. I can go into day 21, 22, different for every woman. And then autumn can be anything from, I sometimes feel it on 18. I'm on day 19 at the moment, and I can feel that kind of pull back a bit. And then it's autumn until you feel that pull back in. Okay. All right. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go around, keep going around this and tie it now into food, okay, and how we feel. So we've spoken about it already. What we need to be doing is not what our society tells us to do. I was never told to rest other than when I was in so much pain that I had to. But if we rest and surrender to it for a day or two, we're going to feel better the rest of the month long, and our health will be better for it. And there is now teams that recognize this, like the Chelsea ladies football team started doing this 2 years ago. As far as I know, the American teams are doing it as well. Day one, I usually feel good. Day two, I'm like, I can't do anything. I am no use to anyone. Do not ask me to come in and do a presentation on day two, or I'll have to do it at like 50% or 75% maybe, but I won't be at 100%. Or to be honest, most of us are running at 175%. We do need to do it because we do need to avoid burnout. And we're so fortunate to have our cycle, because if we're bleeding, it is one way of helping us to release some of the overheating that we're having. I can come back to that if we want to talk about symptoms at the end. And it is a time to reset. And we do need to rest. So this lady here is on the couch having warm drinks. Ideally, if you can work from home, employers are getting so much better at this. There's policies coming into businesses now that are allowing it. Obviously, it's easier if you're in college, and if you're at school, then, speak to your parents. We are going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. You can go in and sit in the back of the office or the classroom and just sit quietly and just ignore everything that's going on. Don't engage. It is an option, because I know it's not always an option to be able to take a day off work. Like, I have had scenarios, where I've had to go and travel and stuff. So ideally what we're eating at this time, and I do have a whole section, or there's another bit on food as well, but it's while we're bleeding, what we want is, we need everything calm. It's like, have your food pre-cooked. If you've got kids, just say to your partner, it's my bleed time. If you don't want to use that word, just say it's your period, and just say, look, can you just take the kids I need an early night, even if that's the best that we can do, or we just go away for an hour for ourselves. We need to be having foods that don't take so much to digest, especially if you're cramping, but anyways, because what it's doing, let's say you have a piece of meat, even if it's only a small piece of meat or a really complex carb, it takes, meat is up to 6 to 8 hours to digest. So what's happening is that you're taking the energy away from what we're supposed to be letting go of. And now the energy has to scuttle over here and go, oh, I've got to digest this food. And it's just making things a little bit harder for ourselves. Like some days, if I feel like, oh, do I feel a little bit crampy or something? I just won't eat for the first half a day, just that. And then I'll eat, because I just know that sometimes it can make me more, it can bring on cramps, because I know myself enough now. So that's winter. I'm going to come to the physical activity at the end, okay? So I mentioned about spring, and this is it's a time to come out slowly. This is why we've got this little chap on the screen. It is about coming out slowly. Now, we have what we call transition days, and they're the times where we're coming out of one phase and coming into another. And I find this is my toughest, because I'm literally raring to go and want to come racing out. And if you take it easy, just go a little bit slower on yourself, rather than, remember, summer is go for it. Then you'll be able to sustain longer. And I mean that with your life, your exercise, your sport, any projects you have, any, appointments you have, any responsibilities you have, all of it will end up smoother. This is the follicular phase. So our energy is rising here. So it's a great time to start new projects. And creativity flows. And I used to be an accountant, so I'm gone a fair way from accountancy to womb work. I used to think that I had not a creative bone in my body. I couldn't even draw a straight line with a ruler. This is actually what I used to say. But actually, you can really tune into creative ideas or generate more ideas at this time. And once you start to notice this, you'll see them coming in. Food wise, we've just bled, okay? We've just shed lining. And so now we have to build ourselves back up again. I think we forget this because it kind of comes in every month and it kind of goes, oh yeah. But it's really important that we need to build our tissues back up again. So it's like fresh vegetables, nuts, seeds, good fats and oils. So I've put a little, I didn't want to give a whole list of things. I think it's about, sorry, let me go back. It's more about understanding why you're doing it. And nuts and seeds will build up and the fats. There's nothing wrong with fats. They've got bad rep. Like we wouldn't have any skeleton if we wouldn't be walking around if we had no fat in our body. So those foods are great for building back up again. And our appetite it's good at this stage. We're not eating as much probably as we are in autumn, but more than we were in winter. So come into summer. So now summer is, we said earlier, it's our most extroverted self. So you'll find, I know some of you are going to go like, oh yeah, this is what I do. You say yes to a lot of things in summer. And you say yes to things in summer that is for next week or the week after. And then you come into autumn or winter and you go, oh my God, why did I say I would do that? Because you've left your summer Susan or your summer self agree to your calendar, right? Don't let your summer self agree to your calendar for autumn, or like just check ahead. Am I really going to want to go to that thing when I'm just about to come into winter and bleed? But summer is the time to say yes. It's a great time for communication. I work with corporates as well, and I'm always saying to them, like, if you have big meetings or big, outings or stuff like that, this is the time to book them in. And obviously, yes, it's suiting you if you have that position to do so. But I guess it's also understanding, like, if you're managing either somebody in even your own family, right, or working, or even noticing it with friends, but also if I think there's probably a few coaches here. If you're working with teams, know that like every woman goes through the cycle, and she's at a different, each woman or girl that's on your team, they're at different stages of this or different phases of the cycle. So some of them are going to be like, yay, woohoo. If they come in the following week and they're like, oh, it can be, yes, it can be sleep, it can be something happened during the day, but if you know where they are in their cycle, or if you've got an open policy and an open, genuine understanding and care that you want to talk about this, and they're able to say, do you know what, I'm in autumn, I'm feeling a bit blah. And if they're in summer and they're like, yeah, I'll lead today, I'll do the meeting today, or I'll do the chat today, then it's really important to know that we're just not the same all the time, and we can be kinder to ourselves and the people around us. But the summer is yang, the yin and yang. So yin is when you're of a lower energy, and yang is when you're more out there. You're more, you're more out in the world. Food-wise, I am going to go into why this is important in a minute with hormones. It's the only bit that I do on hormones. I noticed this myself, and it's same for other women, but if you're training, you do have to adjust it to what you need, is that your appetite tends to be the lightest. Do you ever notice, like in summer, that it's the time where you're like, you have juices and you have a lot of fruit and you have a lighter appetite in general. So you'll find at this stage that you will have it's the lightest appetite that you'll have. And you'll notice this once you start like thinking about this over the next few months, and hopefully you'll start journaling and noticing where you are in your cycle. It's also though a really important time to have protein and fats and whole grains, and it's protein especially because you're building your muscles, and you're probably using it most during this time. It's when we're physically the strongest as well. So you can kind of see where we're going to go with the physical activity, where we're going to be doing feeling our most active, even if it's like walking or swimming, or this doesn't have to be any elite sport or anything. So that meal, I suppose, represents, like, you've got your protein. The greens are so important for anyone that overheats and has migraines and has intense periods. Greens cleanse the heat out of your body. And the reason that we're getting, if it's PMS, like I used to have, and it used to be pure anger, I'd be like, rah. The heat, I had too much heat in my life, in my body, as in like I was doing too much, going too fast. And the greens are very good for clearing heat out of the body. So up your greens. Everyone, anyway, I would say that to everyone, but especially people that struggle with the migraines, any rashes or acne and stuff. It's brilliant for cleansing. So just pop them onto everything, get them into everything. And if you want a herb, it's mint. Mint is great, and cilantro, as in, you know, the leaf of the coriander. Like I said, I could talk all day about this. Right, autumn. So see this lady here, she is gone off hiking. She knows that it's time to go within. It's time to start. Oh, you know what, I want to leave this materialistic or commercial world. I used to always find it, I'd be like, why have I no interest in doing any work today or this week? And I started journaling and I was like, oh, of course I don't. It's just not really important in the grand scheme of things. I still have to do it, but at least now I understand why I don't want to do it. And for me, that was the most important thing. And I remember a woman who came to my workshop, and she was quite senior in her role and in her career. And she was like, oh, I can't believe this. She said, so basically I can be kind to myself that I'm not the same all month long or every week or every day. And I was like, oh, can I borrow that and share that? Yeah, because that's exactly it. We're cyclical. We're not meant to feel the same. We're not meant to have the same strength. We're not meant to have, we don't even wear the same clothes. In summer, you wear brighter clothes. Winter, you're probably going to be wearing looser clothes, darker maybe. Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? Anyway, what we do have though sometimes, and our society is kind of partial to this, is like that we don't want to slow down. We have a resistance sometimes to slow down, because we have to go from this going, doing, loving being out there, and now we got to slow down. And it's going from that yang energy, which is more the masculine sunshine, I want to be out there, into this yin energy, which is dark and slow and more reflective. And how's my life going? Is this where I want to be going? And it's a friction. And I believe, and there's the hormones are back this, but I think it's why we have so much PMS comes up at this time, because whatever has been happening in the month. So if you've been going too fast all the time, not taking a little bit of time out, maybe not just sitting down for 10 minutes, or not saying, well done, I've just done that task. Women are more likely to be perfectionists, and just constantly going and giving to everyone. And so the reason that we have, a lot of women have cravings, is that our body is going, please, please, please slow down. And I need sweet foods to slow down. But we can find that in other foods. Like, listen, I'm a big dark chocolate fan. Huge, doesn't matter which season or phase I'm in. But you can get it as well from like sweet potatoes. Think really grounding foods. Anything that comes from the ground, like underneath the ground, is the roots are grounding. Anything that is coming from above is more cleansing and lighter. So you kind of work out what you need. The other thing, I'm going to take myself back off this for a moment so that I can see a few of you. The other thing I wanted to say about autumn is that there's a few things that go on here, right? You'll recognize it's, you know, when we're getting ready to hibernate, and you just literally start like cleaning the whole house, and all of a sudden your to-do list. So if you've got jobs every month that you are in work or at home or wherever, but they're tedious, and sometimes you're like, well, I don't know why I can't do these, but I can leave them to a certain time of the month. Write your list and do them in autumn, because you literally go tick, 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 tick. There's one day, a couple of days there, and you're so productive. It's incredible. And every time it'll come up in autumn. And another side of that is like, you will literally clear the house because you're getting ready to nest, like mothers do when they're pregnant and they're about to birth. They'll start clearing the decks, they'll clear the area, they'll tidy the house, they'll put some food into the freezer. And our bodies instinctively don't know that. We don't even have to schedule that, like it happens. So that's one side of autumn. These for me were really important. And it's now like you'll reckon, I know some of you will be nodding and saying, yeah, I know this. The other one is we're incredibly intuitive at this time. So we are so in tune we're constantly getting thoughts or reminders of what's going well in our life and what isn't. And what I would say is just note them down. Don't break up with anyone during this time. Although if you're getting the same thought like 6 months or 8 months in a row, you might want to look into it. But there's messages that we're getting at this time that's like going, why is that job just not feeling right? Or why is that relationship not feeling right? Or actually that one feels amazing. It can be both ways. But generally it's that time of like you're reflecting. And without even thinking about it, like these thoughts will come up, and if they're coming up over and over again every month, it's autumn that they're going to come up. And the great thing about it is that you can listen to it, and once you start listening to it, you can decide what you want to do with it, right? So I just wanted to. And the third thing is, of course, that how we're living our life before that is going to show up in autumn. If we slow down as we come into autumn rather than crashing into it, we might have less premenstrual symptoms, which for me were huge. And I know that some people are great at talking about them and some people hide them, and it's really important that we talk about them and get some help or support, because sometimes even talking about it can release some of that angst, whether it's emotional or it's mental, or like I used to thought I was going insane that I was feeling so different at different times of the month, and it's completely normal, but it can be smoother, I suppose. I'm going to keep going so that I have enough time to for you to ask questions. So that's the cycle. So I just want to finish off with the food, because I know people are always interested in the food. So it's basically like if you follow the Mediterranean diet, you'd have whole foods. Can you see my screen, or for some reason I can't see, whole foods, not processed. Sorry, I just can't see anyone at the moment. So I'm like, oh yeah, you're there. That's fine. With an emphasis on a good quality of fish, or ideally organic vegetables, whole grains. What do I mean by that? Buckwheat, quinoa is brilliant because it's got all of our proteins. I haven't put it in here though. Eggs as well, obviously. Fresh fruit, nuts, and good quality olive oil. If you just did that and you balance it, you'd be great. Sugar drives our energy levels up and down, and it's not good for our hormones, and it's throwing us completely out. And that's not restricted to women, but it has more impact because we're so incredibly complex and beautiful that it does impact us more. So caffeinated drinks, dairy can be inflammatory, which can impact PCOS, hormonal acne, endometriosis, and period pain. Again, I'm talking about balance here, okay? I'm talking about just having balance. If we've too much, and some people will be able to tolerate it better than others. Healthy fats, I've already spoken about. Fiber. Our liver and bowel has to process the unwanted hormones, right? So we need them. We need fiber in our diet to get rid of anything that's in excess. So if we've got too much heat, if we've got too much, if there's too much estrogen or progesterone, we need a way to flush them out. And our liver and bowel are really good at doing it, but it does mean we have to be going to the toilet every day to release that out. And our liver will also detoxes between 12 midnight and 2 a.m. each morning. So we really have to be in bed before like 10:30 or by 10:30 to allow that detox to happen. It's really happening between 10 and 2, but you completely miss it if you're not asleep by 11 o'clock, really, which Netflix is not a fan of, or is not your friend. Okay, I'm going to do this very briefly because, as I said, I think when we talk about hormones, I don't know about you, but I feel a little bit, what's the word? I feel like I have no control because we're told, oh yeah, so your estrogen peaks in ovulation and then it drops and then we have a little peak right before your period. And progesterone then comes in after estrogen. And you're like, oh, okay, so does that mean I can't do anything? No, it's not the case. Our hormones are following what is going on in our life, right? So to have a natural healthy cycle each month, we need to ovulate. Because ovulation produces estrogen and progesterone. Okay, and I'm saying a natural cycle, but if you're on any hormonal contraceptions, you are not ovulating. And feel free to email me after this, because if you want to know any more about it. So we're on a healthy cycle or a natural cycle. We need to ovulate. Why do we need estrogen? It regulates our mood, our energy, our heart health, muscle gain. And it's when we have the most energy. That's why, remember here, I was saying it during summer at ovulation, there's about 5 days there that you're literally at your peak. That's when you're at your strongest. And we need to produce the estrogen so that we produce the progesterone. And progesterone is pro-gestation. If you broke it down, it's to allow for gestation if you get pregnant. If you're not, regardless, we have progesterone in our body all the time, and we need progesterone. It's a calming hormone. It's really important to our body because it reduces inflammation, it supports our immune system, it supports our thyroid, our brain and bone and breast tissue. I don't know about you, but I didn't know any of this. So 2 of them are so important, and I don't want to mention any more than that, other than we have them throughout our cycle, and ideally they're flowing. And it's not that they're doing this in isolation. They're doing it depending on how we sleep, how we eat, how we exercise, and our stress levels. And if we're happy, that's so important, if we're happy or not. And why else do we need to ovulate? Yeah, for fertility, but it also helps to avoid osteoporosis, dementia, heart disease, breast cancer. It's important to mention these things because I don't think we're taught this, and we're not taught this by, I'd love schools to be doing this. Okay, so why is that important to physical activity? Most exercise plans and personal training plans do not work for women. Why? Because they assume that we have the same energy every day. So they're based on, and research, all the research is done on men who release testosterone on a daily basis. I'm not saying men are not cyclical as well, they are, but they don't have the same as women. And actually, if we're pushing ourselves too much, we can cause ourselves injury and reduce our potential optimum performance, actually, if we're pushing at the wrong time. So, and you will feel differently depending on your sleep, stress, nutrition, and prior physical activity over the weeks and days. So you can take screenshots, by the way. I should have said that earlier. Or if there's anything you want, just email me or ask Rachel or Shane. I'm happy to share whatever you want or whatever you wish. So in winter, if anyone here does yoga, you're literally, that or walking is the only thing you should be doing. Really, ideally, we're not doing any exercise in winter. So take a night off. Take a few days off or go for a walk. Or sometimes I have to get on the mat. I do yoga. I get on the mat and I need to move around because I can feel I'm getting a little bit stuck, or if you feel a little bit discomfort, just a little bit of movement. This is like this one here. Don't know if I can screen you. No, I can't. She's doing the butterfly, where you have bring your feet together and bring your legs out. So literally let the flow go down. Spring, it's when your estrogen is rising. So you can do higher intensity, like your strength training here, heavier weights, cardio, like running, boxing, dancing. Spring and summer basically are when you're doing, you're slowly bringing it up in spring. You're doing your weight bearing exercises and everything. You're slowly increasing that in spring. And then in estrogen is at its highest in summer, like I said earlier, so you can continue with your strong training. Now, as I said, there's not much research on this at all. Like it's really, really poor because it's very expensive, and most research is done on men, not on women. But some evidence does suggest that we're more prone to injury during this time because our ligaments and tendons are more lax. So what I always say is, you know your body. Like if you're going too much and too hard and too fast this summer, then ease off. Like you'll find that you might be getting bloated, that you're overheating maybe a little bit. Just trust your body, and trust, if you're working with someone, trust them as well. But and we need to trust when women are saying, like, actually, I have had enough. Now, look, there's some nights where, like, I don't really want to do anything. That's a different story. We all have that. So autumn is then the time to start scaling back the intense training. Like in summer is when I would do, like, I am a jogger. I wouldn't say I'm a runner now, but I'm a jogger. But that's when I do my more intense, like I get my weights out. I would be doing my vinyasa yoga. But when I'm coming into autumn, my body doesn't even want to. Like now and then I might go I'll go for a run, but it might be a slower, gentler run. You might go hiking. It's more yin yoga, Pilates, and walking and stuff. And we need to focus less on the intense training and focus more on recovery time. Okay, I'm conscious we've only 10 minutes left, so I want to leave time. Okay, so what do we do? Just very quickly. Let me just stop the sharing so you can see me. Yeah. So you've got to get to know your cycle. And the only way to know it is to start journaling it. And I mean with pen and paper. You can use apps, but if you're writing it down, you're literally writing it down from your heart down to the pen and paper. The app is fine, but you can't write in, oh, I reacted poorly today, or I did this, or this happened. And what I say is, like, start on day one, first day of your cycle, full bleed. Because I wasn't a journaler, I couldn't remember, but I did know I would never remember to keep doing it. I tried a few times, but I was in so much pain and angst and tired of getting angry and then the following day regretting, like having an outburst or something like that, that I was like, I'm not, like, it's more important that I do this and do it for 2 minutes every evening or every couple of evenings than not do it. Like, I suppose you hit a trigger point where you go, I can't do this anymore. I want to live happier. Like, I want to live a better life. So I used to just I wrote down my food, and I wrote down about work, because I was like, what's going on? And you could write down your relationships, but choose what's important to you. And I just wrote down 1 or 2 words for each of it. So it'd literally be, I don't know, 40 seconds. It's like, I'm tired, or I felt overwhelmed, or I feel a bit snappy today, or actually I feel so clear and happy. And just do that. And then, honest to God, within 2 months, I could start to see these patterns. The pattern that I told you about, but obviously they're unique to me and how I feel as well, right? And they will be unique to you too. And once I found out about this cycle, within a few months, most of my symptoms were gone. So I'm so passionate about us sharing it. So there's loads of more tips that I could give you, but it is about starting with awareness and talk about it to your friends, tell them where you are in it, talk to your parents about it, talk to your colleagues about it. Bring me in to talk about it, whatever you want, but talk about it. It's the biggest thing. It's about sharing that information so that we can all have it. Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
That was brilliant. Thanks a million, Susan. So yeah, what we might do is I might get Rachel to come in there and just see if there's any questions that you might want to put to Susan. And again, if there's any more questions, feel free to pop them over to Rachel now as we're going through them. And with saying that, I'm going to stop the recording. Okay, so feel free to ask away if that's all right.